Welcome back, everyone. I have automated 20% of my sales this week. Stefan automates 80% of the sales of his clients. And I want to know what he's been cooking this week. So welcome, Stefan Erschwendner.
Hi, Simon. Thank you very much. Good to be back.
It's such an exciting time. We have a jetpack, right? We just got 17 employees. Let's get them to work. This week alone, I've built a prospecting system that works without me, an SEO system, goes, monitors, and tells me what to improve, a referral system, gives referrals, a referral system that asks for referrals, and a content system where I just create a video and it turns it into 8 different marketing assets, from articles to blog posts. And that was just a very short period of time. Happy to share some of those. And my particular love is creating commands like slash something, because it then just happens. And I have how many? These are my favorite commands that I'm using all the time. Happy to share those. But before we go there, what's cooking on your side?
Before I start, I would already have a lot of questions for you about the stuff that you've been sharing so far,
Sure.
if that is fine with you. Because I would be interested, because you said you worked on all those different topics. So was that also the exact order, or what kind of system did you use to actually figure out what are the use cases that you want to tackle first, and which is the use case that you then tackle last? Like, how's your approach for doing that?
That is a great question, because let's look at the process side of things. Because like every productivity innovation, it can become productivity porn, where you just are so excited about the new software that you spend time learning that, but you don't move the boat forward. I'm a rower, so I think always, does it really move the boat? My process is quite a strict one. I have 4 things in front of me. This is what I use with my clients when I coach, and also when I coach myself. So it's March 11th. I have 4 most important daily tasks, and there is no place for a 5th one. And I have to check them off. And some of them are big tasks, scary tasks. Like one of them is writing a book. I have to do 1 baby step towards writing a book. Now, 12 months ago, I committed to that task number 4. Here it is. It became reality, 367 pages. I just received this as an author copy from Amazon. So the process is, I have to solve real business problems. I allow myself only 4 at a time. They overwhelm me because they're big. And I hope everybody picks big things to do in the morning, not just, solve this little bug. No, pick something that's really big, like ship something, right? And so I have these 4 things. I'm totally overwhelmed because I'm an idiot and I'm making things up as I go. I have no clue what I'm doing. And I think I'm not the only one, right? And so because of that, I ask Claude code all the time. I go to the terminal, /Claude, we get the day started. I say /today, it helps me prioritize. But you want the history. So how did I get started? I had to write a book. I was overwhelmed with asking people for the book blurb. For each step was overwhelming me. And so I did it with Claude. And then from there, I have to make introductions every day. Sometimes I forget the people. I go, oh, that guy, dental clinics guy. I want to introduce dental clinics guy to cybersecurity guy. But what was the name of dental clinic guy? I can't remember him. And so I asked Claude, how can I improve the way I track my conversation? It said, well, I work well with granola. You are using Fixer. I don't work well with Fixer. So it was a step-by-step exploration. I talk to Claude like I talk to Jesus. When I am overwhelmed, please help. I say, please help. And so I talk 8 times a day to Claude, twice per day to Jesus. Please help. I don't know how to do this. Please help. And step by step, we explore stuff.
And just with the concrete use cases that you mentioned, because you talked about prospecting, but you also talked about optimizing SEO. So do you then have a process like, are you doing everything at the same time? Or do you have like some kind of priority system that you use to say like, okay, let me first start with the prospects, and then once I'm done with that, let's focus on SEO?
You ask such a good question, because that's exactly how it evolved. So I was hopping now, and now I had 17 different projects actually. And so I said to Claude, hey, how many things are we starting right now? We need something to prioritize here. I want a Kanban board with later, now, and completed. Where is the best place for you to put that Kanban board? I think I learned this from you, Stefan, not to tell him, build a Kanban board in my favorite software, but I ask it, what's the best place for you? Because I want it to work instead of me. So what's your favorite place to do that? And it says, I work best with Notion. And I said, okay, do it in Notion. It turns out it was pretty cool. And so right now,
yeah, I mean,
we have this
at the end of the
simple.
day, it's mainly Claude interacting with the tool. So you could also care less about what tool it is, as long as it works for the machine that helps you to get most of the stuff done.
Exactly. That was my main learning. And so I said, okay, go Notion. So right now it loves Notion, it loves granola. But how did we get there? Step by step, every day, having a problem in front of us, attacking that problem. So the first effect is I feel more confident. I want to attack the next problem because I feel confidence that I'm able to attack problems. And that's a big shift. When you have a small team and you have many things on your plate, sometimes you feel like, oh my God, don't give me another problem. Right? I'm the opposite. I say, bring it on. Bring it on.
Yeah, I think it's also interesting what you mentioned, because I think also something that I observed for myself is when back then, like when you exclusively work together with humans, you always had like a lot of discussions about, oh, is it going to be Notion, or should we take Obsidian for it, or Asana, or any kind of other tool? And then within the tool, oh, how are we going to call it? Should it be called A or B or C? And this kind of stuff. And I think you also learn when you use like Claude or Codex even more that, I mean, it also works best with the naming that actually the tool suggests, yeah, because it then like intuitively finds the stuff faster, and you can go every time and you can say, yeah, but I would like that this field is called in a different way, and you can do it, but does not necessarily make the output better. It's the other way around. And therefore, I think it's also exactly what you said. So asking also the tool what it suggests is the best way. And as long as it does not go against totally your principles, you should actually be fine with it and say, okay, then let's roll with Notion.
Yes. I let it propose things. And now we have a set of, maybe it's 5, 6 software that it works really well with. The brain seems to be Claude Code, and then it has hands and feet. The hands are Notion, Granola, Obsidian. The feet are make.com, former Integromat by Google. And Hunter.io for prospecting, for data retrieval, which probably you could use also Apollo or something like that, or Instantly.
Yeah.
But with this set, and it's pretty cheap, we're talking like $600 a month, right? But this is such a powerful thing. It's easily 100 million company with one person and this $600 per month in software.
Yeah. I think then what's interesting is, I mean, I would assume that currently when you run the tickets via Notion, that it still relies heavily on you for pushing stuff forward.
Yes.
And then I think the interesting step is like, okay, how can you involve even more? And then I think at the end there was like one of the interesting things. Didn't have so much time this week with being in the US, but one of the interesting things that I read is that it's also changing basically how much time you use within software development for the different tasks. Because obviously you can now use agents that help you with coding and all of that stuff. And I think the thing that currently people are discovering, that the only things that are left for humans where you should spend most of your time is actually in defining the product requirements. So the product requirements document. And on the other hand, the review. And everything in between is kind of gone. So some of, prioritizing the tickets or doing design or doing the actual coding, because you can outsource that to agents. But what's really important is that you have a clear understanding of what you actually want to have as an output. And as you said, you can also work on that together with the different tools and then actually reviewing this. And when you realize that, then I think it changes your way of working again, because it means that you would think way much more ahead, because you can generate a lot of tickets or issues, depending on how you want to call them, which then Claude Code or Codex or whatever tool you're going to use, or OpenClaw, can then work off while you're in meetings or overnight. And then you realize that from the whole productivity boost that you already described, where obviously if you get exposed to it, if you have the tool set, you would say like, oh, it's incredible, like how I 10x, 20x my productivity. You would then realize, yeah, but that's your productivity 9 to 5, most likely. And then there is still half a day left where actually the tools could work for you, but you were just not thinking about generating new issues, new tickets, new ideas of what you would actually like to have. So I think that the whole productivity boost that would be possible is, we're still at the tip of the iceberg of what's happening. And already at that point, the two of us are like super excited about what's possible.
I hear you. I hear you. And you are already on the next level with your clients. I love this. I am glad that I had a few weeks on this level, because it's exciting enough. It changes totally the way we work.
Yeah.
We thought
and
we
I
are.
think you need to go through it, because
Yes.
otherwise I think it's impossible to jump ahead and make a shortcut.
Yes. You need time to digest this. I'm not typing, I'm talking. It doesn't take 10 minutes, it takes 20 seconds. I did my tax report for 2025. It's very complicated because I sell options, etc. Very complicated. Would take somebody on my team 80 hours to consolidate all of that. Took Claude one night to do that. So, and this is where I asked it, I want to go to sleep now. Can you complete this? Can you ask me for all the permissions that you need so that you don't have to ask me over the next 9 hours? And it said, yeah, don't worry, I'm doing this, click this, and good night, Simon. See you tomorrow. You will find the report when you wake up. I was like, wow.
Yeah, so it's super interesting, and just right now I'm sitting in a client office, and we are deploying actually like a global innovation platform, you can call it, where they have like different offices in different markets and different innovation and trend scouts. And up till now they had like, I would say like a classic setup that you see very often, so that you have like a Teams channel where people are basically submitting different links or documents, whatever is interesting and relevant in a different market. And then you have like a central office that's trying to combine that and build kind of a knowledge base and make sense out of it, do pattern recognition. But it's not a very structured process. And what we managed to do with the client here is that basically in 3 days, so we are now on, it's Wednesday, so we're now on day 3. So we kind of like turned that into a completely structured process where it's actually way easier for the people in the markets to submit information. They can do it via a Chrome extension. They can forward emails. They can share it via a Teams channel, of course. They can also go to a web platform. Everything gets then categorized and tagged automatically, and everybody has access to the knowledge. So it's in a structured way. You have a table view, you have a grid view, you get summaries, you can have it in different languages. It's like a nice interface because it also grabs like the images from the different articles that are there or PDFs. So it makes actually fun to use the system. And if you set that up in, as I said, a handful of days, and if you have the right setup, then you basically increase your speed for everything that's about to come even more. So we just had a review with the client, so the main product owner of the tool, and during the review, she actually came up with like 2-3 new ideas, which based on what she saw, she said like, oh, now that I see this, it would be great if I could also do that, or if it would be possible to see it in this way. And when you have the right setup and when you have the right workflows and you have an automated system that's working off tickets, then basically you just need to create the ticket, because the agent knows the environment, the agent knows what we're building here. You have all that memory already included, and then shipping new features suddenly just takes like 2-3 minutes and it's done. And even while you're sitting in the meeting, you basically can say like, okay, please, let's talk more about it. Do you have any additional ideas? Until we were done with talking about idea number 3, already idea number 1 was shipped and it was already deployed and we could take a look at it. And of course, that creates like incredible wow moments for the client, but at the same time also for us. But it's just crazy that once you have figured out the system, as you said, like how much speed you can create within projects, how much customer value you can create, and what a completely different customer experience benchmark that is.
Completely new level. And my favorites is I found something that's helpful, and then I said, Claude, can you turn this into a skill and add it to our repo, add it to wherever you need it to remind yourself, because I will forget everything. So there are 2 rules. I forget everything, so don't work as if I would remember it. Work as if you will remember it. And then the second one is never give me a task back, never back delegate. So if you can do it, do it. If you hit a wall, start solving that, never give it back. Because sometimes it would ask me, go to make and give this authorization. Never do that. Find a way. No shortcuts. You have to stay with the root cause. Don't do temporary solution. That was my next learning. It jumps to a temporary solution. For now, I did this. No. You have to always solve it in a way that the documentation is scalable, is clean, and we are both proud of it, and it's not below our standards, because we will not come back here and clean up. That's never going to happen. We build clean from the beginning. And that's a huge thing. With human teams, if you say that, you have a conflict. And Claude understands it.
Yeah, totally right. And I think like super interesting with the kind of like expectations that you managed. I think like what already helps a lot is if you also ask for testing loops. So before actually Claude or Codex are done, that they test it by themselves, and only if the test was successful that actually you see it, which also helps you to save a lot of time, because then you only should see stuff that is actually working. And of course, in 5% of cases, you then still find something where you say like, I'm not sure if that is really the best that we can do, and maybe we can improve that. But again, you don't need to check everything in between. You only check the stuff once it's actually working and it is there.
And my favorite things, /today, it briefs me about the day, goes to Obsidian, Granola, Gmail, calendar, says, this is your day. You need a brief for this. You will have this guest. it knows exactly that before I have a guest on my podcast, I want 10 strong questions. I want a great hook. It does it automatically. Should I go and prepare the hook? It worked really well today. Then, and it's better than ever. I always had an executive assistant, but this is even better because it has more context, and it's always in your time zone, and it's always awake when you're awake. Incredible. Then /leverage. This is basically a chapter from the book. Don't just do stuff, do the highest leverage stuff. And it can be complicated to understand and to do when you're a manager. So /leverage does it for you. Goes through all of that, deploys the Simon and J. Abraham models to all your day, to all your context, and it says, you know what? If you do this, that has actually 65% more outcome than if you do these other 5 things. So that's the leverage module. How cool is that? I have a coach too now, because I was always coaching people, but I don't always have a coach. Now I have one. /revenue looks at the revenue systems and improves them. Goes to your website, says, hey, people are jumping off from that button. /weekly learns from my week. That's every Friday. Learns from my week, turns it into a blog post. This is what I've learned this week. So good. I usually just hit publish and I publish it. That's how good it is. Then /guests. You will love this. If you have a podcast, I said, I want to find the next guest based on what is most alive in my conversations today. So go to my Gmail, Zoom, Granola. What is most alive? Our sprint dashboard. What are the things that we are, building on, trying to solve? Those are the topics I want to talk with the next guest. Who is the best person to talk about this? And it brings exactly those people. It brought a neuroplasticity expert for the sales question. And not just that, it prepared an email for them, put it in my Gmail draft. So I just hit, and it goes to exactly that person. So I sent it to 5 people. 2 of them already booked themselves on the show. And these are the world experts in those fields.
That's a great idea.
It's incredible. Then /luck. There are a few scientific models of what makes luck. How can you increase the probability to be lucky, right? And so I've applied this to the sales systems, the websites, the marketing systems. And this is, you have to point it to something. So /luck, this website, /luck, this this campaign, /luck, this email series. And then it gives you feedback from that. No, to increase the probability of success, you have to do this. Also, really, really good. And I put those on repeat. So there is a make automation. Every Tuesday, I get a luck report about the website. Every Wednesday, about the email series, etc. So I can now forget everything, which is my goal. But the system will not forget. Right? And then the last one, 7 critics. You wrote something. Before you publish it, you give it to 7 critics. They are all grumpy people. One is grumpy because they're at the grocery store with their kids and they get your email. The other is
so you set up 7 grumpy
7
personas.
grumpy people for 7 different reasons. But they are all limited in attention span and they get easily pissed if you don't get to the point and if it's not valuable to them.
Yeah.
And so they criticize it, but then of course the improvement ideas, very specific improvements to make them less pissed when they get this piece of content. And that's also pretty cool because we think you send an email to somebody and they are perfectly ready. All their attention is on you. They have nothing else to do in their day and they receive your content. That's not the case.
Not really, especially when they are also playing around with agents.
Exactly. And they have kids, they have friends, they have a dog that's eating the carpet. There is stuff going on.
Yeah. No, those are great slash commands. Like the thing that I discovered over the last weeks, that again, if you're doing so many things and you can do so much stuff, and I think there is still so much more to explore out there. So I think it takes a while till you actually take then personal advantage of it, and you can say like, okay, I have everything explored, I know how it works, and I have the advantage of now take more runs during the day, or meet friends, or spend time with the family, whatever you want to do. But I think till you reach that point, there is so much more to discover right now. And again, if you're working on so many topics, because it's possible and you can do things that have been impossible before, then I found it actually like super useful to get daily notes, so that you actually get reminded about all the things that you've been working on today. And sometimes when you look back and you think about, okay, how was work 2 or 3 years ago? And then you would say like, okay, so what I've achieved today on a Monday is basically what I would have done in a week or 1.5 weeks in the past. And I think that's also a good reminder for yourself of what is actually possible today, and how much stuff you can do, and at the same time also think about like how much fun it actually makes to work on those things and explore everything that's possible.
And the learnings are, for this to work, you need your data in one place, and you need like a brain and hands and food system that where these body parts want to work together. Because, for example, I was recording my meetings in Fixer AI, and I thought, oh, okay, that's data, but it's not, because the brain, Claude, can't do anything with it. And so I think that's a double check. If you're listening right now, and if you want to automate, either you call Stefan, or you start already with bringing all your data in one place and thinking about, can they work together? So if you're using Claude works really well with Granola and Obsidian and Notion and Make and Gmail and Google Calendar. That's a winning combination. Probably there is many winning combinations, but that is one set that works for me. You are probably seeing many combinations, right?
Yeah, as you said, there are more combinations, and it's changing every week. But I think this is exactly the time with exploring that you just need to invest in the beginning to actually see what's possible, and then you have the additional channels challenge actually. That of course, like every week there are new innovations coming out. And what was really interesting for me was like 10 days ago or something, I discovered Agent Mail, which is a provider, an email provider for agents. And of course, it opens up even more possibilities when your agent has its own email and can do things via email. And also just the main motivation was for testing loops, because we need to create like secure logins and all of that. So you need email access for an agent to actually fully test that again, because I would like to be able that my agent tests that before me. And then I just do the final review. So I discovered Agent Mail, and then I was in San Francisco and I went to a meetup about agent at work, which was at an office. And then I take a look at like, oh, what are all the other companies that are there? And then suddenly I'm standing next to the office of Agent Mail. And that was then like a fun experience where like, okay, I just signed up like 3 days ago, and now apparently I'm standing at their office in San Francisco.
It is supposed to be.
Apparently, yeah.
Another thing,
And then this week they got a huge funding round, so
well deserved.
uh,
Another thing, because you say the change is so quick, uh, the changelog of Anthropic is public.
yeah,
So,
and it's insane.
and then it's insane. And if you're like me, you would be totally overwhelmed with it and you don't even understand what it means. But what I did is I said, hey, Claude, build something that reads it every day, summarizes 3 things, and puts these 3 things in our Slack channel for for our team to know. That I only want to know three things. First, is any of the changes of today relevant for our clients or our business, and why? Second, if we implement them, is the effort to impact worth it in the context of all the rest that we could do? Third, if you implement them, which one can you do 100% alone and which one would need somebody of our team? And if it's somebody of our team, who would be that owner? And so I get this report every day. Yesterday, first report. So the thing that you should do, Simon, is to update this specific thing because you're using Make, and it will make you 12 times more efficient. So you will use 12 times less tokens if you do this. And I say, what is it in euro for us, right? We are in Europe. And it showed me the euro number, and I said, do it immediately. So it saved me money in API requests from Make. We're heavy Make users. And I wasn't aware of the costs yet, right? So we're learning these things. So I found an efficiency thing. And the second and the third were also really important. I would not have thought about it.
Yeah, I'm just surprised that Claude did not tell you yet that it can replace Make altogether.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, no, it can totally do that. So we work for a couple of clients where we are actually doing that. So, but that's also part of this whole SaaS movement that you know, at the end of the day, what Make or N8N is, it's basically just a visual interface for code. And so you don't need it like in the same time that, you know, Salesforce and HubSpot is, you know, ultimately a database that has some interfaces, some automations and some features on it, but you can also rebuild that. And in the same way how you can replace a lot of the SaaS software, you can actually replace no-code, low-code automation tools. And it actually has like a couple of benefits. And one of them is, of course, that you don't use the subscriptions anymore. Most likely it can all be handled within your existing subscription that you have with your LLM provider, no matter which one it is. But then on the other hand, it also makes it way easier to interact for Claude or Codex with the different automations that you have, because it can trigger it basically from everywhere. Yeah. And otherwise, if you want to rerun something in Make, or if you want to test something out, you know, it's always very manual. You need to go there, you need some record IDs and so on and so on. But if you have, again, talking about the tool stack, if you have the right tool stack and everything is connected, and for example, you're using Airtable as a database, then, you know, Claude can go to Airtable and can grab the record ID. And if you want to test like a new outreach or something, you just need to say which email address and it will go out, or which like record ID will go out, grab the record ID, throw it in the automation, will run the automation for you. So it gives you, again, not just a boost in terms of the costs, but it also gives you a boost in terms of speed and possibilities. Yeah, because then you just think about like, okay, what is the new approach that we would like to use for an email campaign or whatever it is, and then you can say like, okay, now you know, execute it with 10 random test record IDs from my database, and it will use it. And then you end up also at the question like, do we need Airtable, or do we just go to another provider? Because also Airtable charges you for something that at the end of the day you most likely don't need anymore.
Wow. So even Make soon, basically, you have in Claude if you want. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can already have it. It's basically no problem, and this is most likely the next step where you will go, is then to replace again more and more no-code, low-code tools in the same way as you started to replace SaaS tools. This is then going to be the next step, because I think also, you know, being highly exposed to no-code, low-code over the last 3 years, it's great to get started. But you of course have limitations, because, you know, certain things are just how they are, and ultimately you realize that those things are extremely limiting and slowing you down. And if you work directly, and then I would call it more like agentic engineering. If you go into the agentic engineering area, you actually see that there are so many more possibilities, so many more things that you can do while actually lowering your costs. And you can trigger any automation anytime. It's easy to update the whole thing and to maintain and have an overview, have a changelog, and all of the things which are not so great in some of the tools. You actually don't need the tools anymore. You can just go all code.
Wow.
I mean, you need to then do your own backups, and it has some other housekeeping that you need to do, which is usually included in the platforms. But I think it's totally worth doing that.
So 3 years from now, will we just use, in my case, just Claude Code and almost nothing else? Gmail.
Yeah, I think you will have like a handful of tools that are left. Like, for example, I think it doesn't make most likely a lot of sense to build your own Slack or communication platform or Discord. I think those are rather good modes that they have. I think also email should be safe, but basically a lot of other software like automation software, databases, CRM software, as we talked about last time, like even presentation software, I think you're going to replace it because code is basically for free and it is disposable. And if you set up again, like what you said, like the right workflow and the right ecosystem that you're going to use with the tools, it becomes even cheaper, it becomes even better, it becomes even more context rich. And with basically every tool in the setup, it's more likely that you're going to build your own things that are connected to everything that you have. So I think we will definitely see that people are going to have less subscriptions, but some of the subscriptions like LLM and some other basic tools, but really foundational tools, you will spend more time and money with the foundations, but the stuff that's built on top, I think you're moving away from that. And then it's also the problem because you're somehow intrigued to build software for you and for your others. And I think building software for yourself is great, but I'm not sure how much software you will be able to build for others, because if you can build it, the
They
others
can
can
build
build
it
it
too.
too. So there are no modes left.
So if you're listening to this and if you are a non-technical CEO like me, a non-technical founder, one thing that helped me a lot is just to open the terminal directly. So you go to Claude, no, not even, you open your terminal on your computer and then you say /Claude and you start immersing yourself in this world of just having a command line. Because if you're not technical, that's not the visual experience that you are used to, and it looks very foreign. But actually, after a few hours, after a few days with it, you learn how machines think. And now you can help, you can direct them, because we will all be generalists. I think we are all generalists now. Even my assistant is now a generalist. She has 17 collaborators and she has to put them to work. So we are all generalists. What are the skills? Business strategy. And I think that's why I hope people will read the book, Time Freedom, will read all the strategy books, because this is the skill, strategic thinking, giving direction, and picking the right problems, the biggest problems possible. Because the small problems, as Stefan just said, they will just be commoditized. Like the problem of building a feature, commoditized. The problem of selecting which features to pick, that's a good problem. And then from feature, you go to the next level, right? Which platform, which ecosystem, which mode. So now you're moving up the strategic levels. And that will be your job, my job, our job, strategic thinking. But also you have to understand how machines think, because otherwise you're living in parallel universe. So Markdown is the love language of machines that is visual enough for humans. Spend your time in Markdown. Terminal is, I think, something similar. Spend your time in Terminal. Because now you and your collaborators, and we will probably have teams half humans, half robots from now on. Why not? You and your collaborators talk the same language.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think the most important thing is to not be afraid and get exposed to it, because you will only understand it once you start experimenting. I think it's part of the journey. You can't skip it. But as you said, it's not too intimidating. And after 2-3 hours, it becomes normal again. And it's also, the terminal is just an interface. And I think most of my colleagues went through the journey and then suddenly say, oh, I actually prefer the terminal now, because it
Yes,
feels
me too.
more direct. Yeah, so
And you can have multiples at
100% everything.
once.
Yes,
You can have
of
3
course,
at a
that's
time
like,
running.
yeah, that's the other thing. And I think that is then also a different adjustment curve, because I think before you're eventually saying, oh, would it be great to have a second ChatGPT window or something like that? And then suddenly it's all possible. And it's like, only depends on your screen real estate, how many terminals you can have open.
Yes, I'm drinking tea and have 3 terminals in parallel, usual, as sometimes even more. It's fantastic. So guys, if you're listening to this, Stefan has a way to automate 80% of your business in 5 days. How can they do that, Stefan? Where can they find your services?
Yeah, you can swing by our website, frontiera.com, where we have like some of the use cases which are coming for most of the companies that we're going to tackle. Happy also to jump with you on a call. And I think, Simon, we're going to chat about more stuff in the future. What's
We will
happening
do
and
this
what's
every week
exciting
because I
in
want to
this
know
area.
what's going on in your world. You are just in San Francisco. When you come back, you will have learned so much. I want our people to be on the frontier. And so I want the best people who are on the frontier like you here as much as possible, sharing with the community. So Stefan and I, we will do this every week here, because every week is kind of 7 years later in tech. And and also I will put all these learnings together, and I will do a 2 hours workshop where I share everything. I just share screen and I show you the terminals for non-technical people, non-technical founders, non-technical CEOs like myself. I will share just how I do it, because if I can do it, you can do it. And so I will show you specifically the sales part of things, how to put up a prospecting system, and from prospecting to closing and to referrals. That's the part that I will share in a 2 hours workshop soon. I will send out more details later. Thank you, Stefan, for being this. Enjoy the US. Come back soon. See you next week.
Thank you, Simon. Take care. All the best. Bye-bye.
Keep rolling, man.